Hey everybody, welcome. I'm VeeDotMe. One thing that we did recently was a Overexplained Mama Tick guide. That's the DLC boss for Bad Seed, and one of my favorite bosses in the game. One boss that I fight very often that a lot of other people seem to shy away from is the Giant, and that's kind of what I want to talk about today. Now keep in mind that the Giant is a required fight in 4BC. Should you do it prior to 4BC? Sure, there's nothing stopping you from doing that except for actually getting your first win. But once you do that, you might want to get in the habit of going to Giant more often. I prefer Giant mostly because I've gotten that fight down to the T. Honestly, I never get surprised in a Giant fight anymore. And when you have enough hours, you'll probably say the same thing. If you think about the Giant, it's an NPC that's standing in one spot. It has two bullseye targets, one on the left and one on the right. And then if you hit the bullseye enough, then an eyeball comes out and you can actually start attacking the health bar. Compare that to Timekeeper, which is a moving target. It has ranged attacks, so it also fights very well against other ranged gameplay, and it has melee attacks that are very good at punishing melee gameplay. And then after all that, there's a swordfall section that you typically don't have a lot of control over. You basically have that moving target, and then you have swords moving all across the screen. And that, even though Timekeeper has a lower health bar, could in turn be a little more difficult than what the Giant does. Now, the Giant himself, he has a high health bar. He has typically a lot of damage up front, and the entire map is a hazard. You're actually fighting over lava. When you think about those things, you might say, well, okay, Giant might be more trouble than it's worth, especially with that much health. I'm better off just fighting Timekeeper. There's absolutely no reason that you can't just go to Timekeeper, but for the purpose of this guide, I'd like to kind of give you all an idea of why I do Giant more often. So first off, when it comes to Giant, let's talk about the arena. You have lava on the left, lava on the right, one single platform that you can fight on, two fists, and then the Giant himself. Obviously, you don't want to go into the lava. You could take Masochist at the start of the fight so that you don't take lava damage. It also helps for something we're going to talk about later. But overall, I really like to say that the way to beat the Giant is damage. Like, damage is just king in that fight. But since we want to talk about the Giant itself, let's back up and go through all the different kinds of things to expect from the Giant. So first off, the most obvious attack that the Giant does is a punch. The punch can come from the left fist, can come from the right fist. He winds it back and then charges it forward. The punch can be parried, and if you interrupt it with something like the Giant's whistle or something like a grapple hook, there's a really high chance that punch is still gonna go through. Besides the punch, he also has a one-handed slam where he just picks up the fist and brings it straight down. That slam can be parried if you position yourself well. I wouldn't count on it though. And it will only ever hit the arena. So you are actually able to jump away from the arena over the lava and then jump back into the arena, so long as you don't touch the floor. That way you are 100% safe from the slam attack, and you don't have to lose a dodge roll in the process. The next attack that the Giant does, there are missiles that fire out from the fist. Missile can either be of one or two formations. There's a set of 3 missiles that are stacked vertically that go from left to right. And then there's a set of missiles that alternate from a stack to a pyramid to another stack. This typically happens while you're encased in a laser beam, The lasers, there's one on each side, and you cannot touch the wall of it or else you take damage. So what happens is that there's a tail, lasers go out diagonally, and then they're going to sweep inward towards the player. The player is to stand in the center and then wait for the lasers to come out. If you have some kind of ability that moves you out of the lasers, we're talking phaser, light speed, the new javelin, or anything weird like that, it is possible to escape the laser, but it might not be the best option. For the missiles themselves, I typically double jump over the stacks. So you can imagine you're standing dead center. The first stack of 3 is always on the floor, and that's just a double jump. The second stack is going to be placed above the player. That you can duck. So typically, I'm double jumping the first set, ducking the second set, and then double jump the third set. That to me is the most consistent way to dodge it. Of course, if you have a shield, you can just parry each time. Don't forget that shields get a reset every time you parry. For the first set of missiles, you press triangle once. Second set, you press it again. Third set, you press it one more time. Easy as that. Okay, so the pyramid stack's a little different. The pyramid stack starts off with high laser beams. That laser, you can just stand still and you will not get hit by it. The second stack of missiles are low to the ground and it's set up in a triangle formation. It is possible to just double jump over it and you will not get hit. So you wait for the first set to go by, double jump, give yourself as much hang time as necessary, and then you just fall straight down and you will dodge the third set of missiles, which are also above the player. One thing I like to do is after the double jump, I do a dodge roll anyway. The eye lasers should be gone by then, in which case you will dodge roll forward, and in the event you stayed in the air a little too long, you'll dodge that third set of missiles. Now, of course, if you have a shield, you can parry all the missiles. I typically ignore the missiles in the sky, and I only parry the ones in the triangle. Once again, your parry is reset every time you do a successful parry. So I personally just spam it. There's 5 missiles total. That's 5 triangle buttons, but am I pressing it more than 5 times? Absolutely. You just want to give yourself the maximum reliability that you can. Even though you can style on these missiles, you may as well just play it safe. So after the eye lasers, the giant has 2 special attacks that happen if you don't keep the DPS up. If you'll notice in the arena, the giant has 2 shoulder pads with the king's emblem on it. He will charge his fist and add a single light to the emblem. And once that light goes to 3, he does a special attack from that fist. Now, killing a fist will reset the number, which is the best way to avoid these attacks that are happening. But in the event that you happen to not attack the right target, let's at least look at what these do. So the left fist does what we call a Toho attack. It's bullet hell. It's a starburst of missiles. They fly from his fist in a circular formation and just go outward. It is possible to dodge roll through. It is a little difficult. In some cases, I'll even jump off the arena to have the maximum spacing I can between the 2 missiles, and then try to dodge roll back into the arena. If you have a shield, once again, you can just parry these and you'll be fine. The right hand special attack, now that's his left, our stage right. That fist will actually do slam attacks. Think about the skeleton that's in caverns. It's that same jumping slam, but repeatedly. This attack is a little more difficult to dodge. Don't be upset if you get hit by either this attack or the other one, because they are pretty punishing. But just do the best you can and take as little damage as possible. The way how this one's going to work is that a slam will come down and then fire will go across the ground, just like you were fighting Concierge, just like you were fighting the roly-polies and ramparts. If you jump too high, then chances are you'll be hit by the next slam. So what we like to do are little short hops. A lot of times I'll jump in a direction, typically away from the fist. All you want to do is give yourself the exact amount of time that you need to touch the ground and then immediately jump again and just repeat that until the fist is directly over your body. In this case, you're probably going to take a hit. Ideally, you're going to land on the ground, run to the opposite side of the fist and jump again, and then just repeat the short hops until the attack is over. That is not the attack you want to see ever in this fight, and the best way to make sure it doesn't happen is to keep that emblem count low. After that, once phase 2 starts, the giant does a double-fisted slam straight down, and that causes rocks to fall from the sky. These stalagmites or stalactites, I don't know which one it is, they will fall and really do pretty high damage to the player. They cannot be parried, but they can be knocked away with Wave of Denial. They do not hit outside of the arena. You can jump over the lava and jump back in and you'll be fine. You can also reduce the damage taken from these rocks by using the Masochist mutation. The rocks actually count as hazards, just like any stage hazard. So that's a good way to make sure that damage stays as low as you possibly can. In the final phase, the giant can use any of these attacks, really in any order. You can get massively unlucky with a set of double down slams where the rocks never seem to end, or a down slam into an eye laser with horizontal missiles. Really worst case scenario. But when we start talking about weapons, you will hopefully not have to worry about that. Alright, so when it comes to actually killing the giant, as I said, damage is king here. Giant is really susceptible to actually having the fist destroyed. When the fist is destroyed, no more attacks will come out, and you'll only have the eyeball and maybe the falling rocks to deal with. The other fist is still on the screen, so it is possible to deal damage to the other fist while you're attacking the eyeball. Some of the best weapons that can attack both the fist and the eye at the same time are the owl and the R&B. If you don't have these two, it's okay. You can still beat the giant with a lot of different things. A big runner-up goes to the cleaver. Even though the cleaver is supposed to be saw blades on the floor, it will actually hit the fist in its natural position. So whenever I'm fighting the eyeball, because of cleaver's short cooldown, I always throw the cleaver to whatever fist is still standing and attack the eyeball normally. In that circumstance, that other fist will hopefully die, and then the eyeball stays out, and you just alternate left and right until the fight's over. Same with the owl, because the owl targets whatever it wants. If it's targeting the fist, then it's actually really good because you'll only need the owl to kill the fist, while you focus on the eyeball. R&B, on the other hand, is special. That thing can hit both the fist and the eyeball at the same time. Matter of fact, I don't even attack the eyeball when I'm using the R&B. All I do is strum while on the floor, attacking the fist, but also hitting the eye at the same time, which is pretty insane. And then lastly, any shield is good in this fight. Big ups to both the spike shield and the punishment for dealing damage to the fist. But Bloodthirsty Shield also does a good job. Shield also has bonus points for keeping you alive during those missiles. And being able to run something like Blind Faith for really fast resets on your skills is actually pretty strong. If you happen to find yourself in caverns or in Forgotten Sepulchre, and you are sitting on one of these items, there's a really good chance you may want to consider going to the giant. If you don't know what boss you want to fight, and one of these items drop in either caverns or sepulchre, then probably want to take it and go to giant. Don't forget, fighting Giant also gives you a skip to fight Hand of the King, so long as you've done it before. And being able to skip High Peak Castle allows you to keep your health up, allows you to get 2 free scrolls without having to fight demons or whatever's left on that map. And also brings your runtime down, which again, that's ways to prevent potential errors from happening. Now, what do you not want to use in the Giant? So, like I said, you can take really anything into these fights. There's no wrong way to play Dead Cells, but there's certainly weapons that do it worse. So, big offenders here go to the Wolf Trap and the Spartan Sandals. Spartan Sandals do not do nearly any damage to the Giant. As a matter of fact, if you want to have a competition for the slowest Giant NA, that's probably going to go to Spartan Sandals. Wolf Trap at least has a poison cloud if you're playing on 4BC+, but chances are you're going to throw the Wolf Trap on the ground and it's going to do absolutely nothing in the fight. Crusher does hit the fist 3 times before it goes away, but the damage is so low on the fist from the Crusher that those 3 hits are essentially meaningless when you could have just taken a cleaver or a flamethrower. And then finally, playing Symmetrical Lance in this fight can be pretty tough. Symmetrical Lance only has 1 attack that gives you air stall, so having to do these weird combos where you're on the ground, you slash once, you hit nothing, then you jump and do a slash, and then you fall and then you miss, makes the fight way too long and gives you a lot of chance to make mistakes. There are also things like the javelin that struggle in this fight. At least if you throw a javelin into the lava, you get it back, but the amount of work compared to just taking a shield, for example, it's probably a good idea to just pass. So overall, you really want to think about if my build can do a lot of damage in a short amount of time, or if I have a lot of cooldown reduction. Say for example, you're running Instincto with Lacerating Aura, or Blind Faith with Death Orb, then there's a pretty good chance you should be fighting the Giant. I do like the Timekeeper fight. I think she's a very difficult fight. Alright, so if I were to rank the bosses from easiest to hardest, I would say that Concierge is at the top, easiest boss in the game. Second is Mama Tick. Remember, we have an Overexplained Mama Tick video. If you think Mama Tick is a little more difficult, just take a look at that and you'll figure out exactly why we rank her as number 2. Number 3, I have the Giant there, really in the mid-tier of difficulty. I feel like it's easier than Conjunctivius, because Conjunctivius, it's really difficult to do that fight with a lot of different builds. At least with the Giant, it's a war of attrition. Conjunctivius, you're chasing her all over the screen, you're struggling with tentacles, and you're just overall having a bad time. Number 4, I would say, is Conjunctivius. Number 5 would be Timekeeper. And then number 6 is Hand of the King. Other than that, I'm a big fan of these Overexplained videos. I really like to do them. If you all got real value out of this, definitely let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the vid, give it a like so I know that, yeah, we kind of want to see more of these Dead Cells guides. Which boss is going to be the next Overexplained? I don't know. Could be anything. Could be Timekeeper, but I never go Timekeeper, so I have no idea what to do in that fight. Other than that, thanks for watching the video. Subscribe to see more Dead Cells content and other roguelikes that we've been playing lately. We also stream twitch.tv/VeeDotMe. You can see me styling on the Giant every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Or just check out the vids on YouTube. Other than that, I'll talk to you all later. Have a good one.